driver of a freight train involved in a fatal collision with a public bus in Bangkok has tested positive for drugs and been charged with reckless driving, authorities say. The collision, which happened at the Asok Dindang railway crossing on Saturday afternoon, saw the train crash into a public bus that had come to a stop on the railway tracks.
Gaza City, Gaza. Standing in a long queue under the beating sun, 14-year-old Muhammad al-Rubi was waiting to buy bread. But there was a strong chance that despite his patience, he would not get any. A flour and fuel shortage in recent weeks, brought on by Israeli restrictions on imports into Gaza, means that bakeries cannot produce as much bread as Palestinians in Gaza need.
Amid all the backstabbing and plotting in Britain's beleaguered Labour Party, one crucial fact can easily become lost in the twists and turns of the saga. Embattled Prime Minister Keir Starmer has not even faced a formal challenge to his leadership yet. Instead, he is facing a slow-motion coup that could drag on for weeks, with no guarantee that the many Labour MPs who want him to be replaced as PM will succeed. In the meantime, Britain will be adrift in leadership limbo. Pakistan Cricket Board PCB chairman Mohsin Naqvi is unlikely to travel to India after reports claimed he had been invited to attend the Indian Premier League IPL 2026 final scheduled for May 31 in Ahmedabad. According to an international cricket news report, the invitation extended to Naqvi is related to upcoming International Cricket Council ICC meetings rather than the IPL final itself.
Two joint ventures have qualified for the financial bidding stage for the construction of Islamabad's first full-scale cricket stadium. Sources said the Capital Development Authority, CDA, has approved the technical bids submitted by two groups and will now move ahead with the next phase of the tendering process. The project is being planned in collaboration with the Pakistan Cricket Board, PCB. Pakistan's cellular mobile operators are running a large nationwide telecom network, but persistent power outages are affecting service availability across the country. Minister for Information Technology and Telecommunications Shahza Fatima Khawaja informed the National Assembly in a written reply. Operations Support Systems, OS, parameters showed average network availability at 98. 1% for Telenor, 97.6% for Ufanay and 96.86% for Zong. All remain slightly below the Pakistan Telecommunication Authority's required 99% threshold.
MSI has launched the MAG 276 QP42 gaming monitor in China with a 27-inch fast IPS panel, a 1440p resolution and an overclocked 425Hz refresh rate. The monitor is priced at $322, which is surprisingly low for monitors in this range.
The traders community in Islamabad has urged the government to relax lockdown restrictions in the federal capital, similar to the measures adopted in various provinces. Business leaders said traders have consistently supported government policies and cooperated during difficult times to protect the country's interests.
The launch of Giga Boutique Mall on May 15 marked a defining moment for Pakistan's luxury retail industry. Developed by Giga Group, a name long associated with excellence, innovation and landmark developments. The newly opened mall delivered one of the most successful retail openings the capital has witnessed in recent years. From the very first day, Giga Boutique Mall attracted extraordinary public attention and massive footfall without relying on celebrity concerts, lucky draws or extravagant promotional gimmicks. Instead, the project's elegant vision, premium ambience and carefully curated lineup of Pakistan's leading designer brands created excitement strong enough to bring thousands of visitors through its doors.
South Waziristan. At least 3 people, including prominent tribal elder and chief of the Ahmadzai Wazir tribe Malik Tariq Wazir, were killed while 4 others sustained injuries in an improvised explosive device ID blast that struck the busy Rustam Bazaar area of Wana on Monday morning, officials said. According to District Police Officer DPO Muhammad Tahir Shah Wazir, the explosion occurred near Gulshan Plaza when a vehicle with Tariq on board was passing through the market. Powerful blast resulted in the deaths of 3 individuals on the spot, while 4 others were wounded, the official said. Spanish superstar Javier Bardem, who is winning rave reviews for his latest film role, slammed the toxic masculinity of Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin and Benjamin Netanyahu on Sunday, which he said was responsible for their wars. Bardem plays an overbearing film director with an explosive temper in The Beloved by Rodrigo Sorogoyen, which premiered at the Cannes Film Festival on Saturday to widespread praise from critics. Nearly 2 million Muslims are preparing to embark on the annual Hajj pilgrimage to Mecca, which begins on May 25, following the sighting of the crescent moon in Saudi Arabia. The Hajj is the largest annual gathering of Muslims from all over the world and a once-in-a-lifetime journey for many. It is also the 5th pillar of Islam.
Punjab Traffic Police has decided to strictly enforce the lane line system across the province as part of efforts to establish a more organised and effective traffic system. According to the Traffic Police spokesperson, special measures are being introduced to improve traffic flow on roads and promote greater compliance with traffic rules among citizens.
Lahore police have arrested 4 of their own officials after allegations surfaced that they worked with transgender accomplices to lure and rob a citizen in Kot Lakhpat. According to police, 2 transgender suspects allegedly trapped a resident of Kasur and called him to a flat in Lahore. Once he arrived there, the man was allegedly assaulted by their accomplices and robbed of Rs 40,000 in cash.
Karachi, 2 police personnel were martyred on Monday when a speeding dumper truck crashed into a police van parked on the M9 motorway within the limits of the Gadap City Police Station. Officials said in a statement, Maleta police mobile assigned for patrolling and snap checking was hit by a speeding dumper. As a result of the impact, Sub-Inspector both Constable Wajid or Sub-Inspector Sahib Dad Solangji were martyred on the spot, a police spokesperson said in a statement.
The US-Israeli war on Iran has already cost companies around the world at least $25 billion. A review according to a Reuters analysis. A review of corporate statements since the start of the conflict by companies listed in the United States. Europe and Asia offers a sobering look at the fallout. Businesses are grappling with soaring energy prices, fractured supply chains and trade routes severed by Iran's chokehold on the Strait of Hormuz. Washington. United States President Donald Trump's decision to place military options against Iran back on the table follows widening political divisions at home, where Democrats increasingly frame the confrontation as economically damaging, strategically inconsistent and politically risky. The negotiations with Tehran have stalled over Iran's demand for reciprocal recognition, while the White House is intensifying diplomatic pressure and escalating war rhetoric, a combination that may further constrain efforts to secure a peace agreement in the weeks ahead. As night falls over Iran's sprawling capital and the snowy peaks of the Alborz Mountains fade into the darkness, thousands of Iranians have been routinely taking to the streets for state-sponsored rallies aimed at mobilizing supporters against the United States. Near Tahrir Square, an upscale neighborhood of Tehran, the inevitable chanting of death to America blares out over a sea of Iranian flags, while street vendors hawk tea and souvenirs like patriotic baseball caps and patches to the enthusiastic crowd. An international effort is underway to contain an Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, and Uganda that has infected hundreds of people and caused dozens of suspected deaths, as the United States looks to relocate a small number of its citizens affected. On Sunday, the World Health Organization declared the Ebola epidemic a public health emergency of international concern. The latest outbreak does not yet meet the criteria of a pandemic emergency, but the WHO warned the high positivity rate and increasing number of cases and deaths across health zones point toward a potentially much larger outbreak than what is currently being detected and reported.
The government has decided to introduce a new fixed tax scheme for retailers in the upcoming federal budget as part of efforts to bring the retail sector into the tax net. Sources in the Federal Board of Revenue, FBR, said. According to sources, the new fixed tax scheme will be implemented nationwide and is aimed at increasing tax compliance among retailers across the country.
Oil prices extended gains on Monday as efforts to end the Iran war appeared to have stalled after a nuclear power plant in the United Arab Emirates came under attack and as US President Donald Trump expected to discuss military options on Iran. Brent crude futures climbed $2 uns or 184% to $111.27 a barrel by Evo 432 GMT, but were off the $112 they had touched earlier for their highest since May 5. The summit meeting between President Donald Trump and President Xi Jinping produced no surprises. The pomp and ceremony during the visit were as expected. The summit was more about optics than outcomes, but at its core, it was about managing superpower competition and stabilizing the world's most consequential relationship. The meeting took place after weeks of delay with an agenda that matched the range of disputes between the two global powers: trade, technology, rare earths and critical minerals, Taiwan and the Iran conflict. The race for AI dominance between the two powers remains intense.
On Jan 17, 1961, Dwight D. Eisenhower sat before a television camera to deliver his farewell address as the President of the United States. Instead of a simple ceremonial goodbye, the former five-star general who had commanded Allied forces in Europe during World War II and later presided over America's Cold War security state issued a warning America, he said, had built something new. A permanent arms industry closely tied to military power, scientific research, political influence and state spending. His fear was not the production of weapons alone, but the creation of a permanent economy in which war became a source of contracts, influence, research budgets and political power.
Pakistan ended FY25 with its strongest fiscal numbers in over 20 years and its weakest development budget in a generation. The deficit narrowed to 5.4% of GDP, the primary surplus reached 2.4 PC, the current account turned positive for the first time in 14 years and reserves crossed $21 billion. The July-March data for FY26 has extended that into the lowest fiscal deficit in 27 years at 0.7 PC of GDP. With a 2 PC primary surplus, yet federal development spending has been compressed to barely above 1 PC of GDP, then cut mid-year from 1 trillion to 87 BN, far below its peak of around 7 PC in the public investment era. Banks hold the bulk of their assets in government securities rather than private credit, and 25 state-owned enterprises lost 832 BN last year. China will buy at least $17 BN worth of agricultural goods from the United States annually following US President Donald Trump and Chinese leader Xi Jinping's summit in Beijing. The White House has said China will make the purchases through 2028, with the 2026 target applying to the remainder of the year on a proportionate basis, according to a fact sheet released on Sunday.
Provincial revenue mobilisation has risen significantly by April 2026, despite economic headwinds compounded by the spillover effects of the Iran-Israel-US conflict. Collection appears on track to meet full-year targets, signalling a gradual break from past inertia. Lee and subnational tax authorities are gaining traction through the use of new digital data tools, targeted enforcement, risk-based compliance, expansion of the tax base via field surveys, and improved audit and assessment mechanisms.
Insiders from PPP and PMLN do not rule out possibility of major constitutional changes in the days to come. Curriculum, population welfare, mines and minerals may return to centre when. Asked recently whether a possible 28th Amendment was in the offing, PPP leader Bilawal Bhutto Zardari feigned ignorance, saying that his party had not been conveyed any such proposal from the ruling PMLN.
Pakistan's banking industry continues to face mounting stress from bad loans, with non-performing loans, NPLs, rising to nearly 980 billion by the end of 2025. This has intensified concerns that structural weaknesses in the loan recovery framework and weak enforcement mechanisms are obstructing NPL resolution and discouraging credit expansion to underserved sectors such as agriculture, housing and small and medium enterprises, SMEs. State bank data shows commercial banks account for the overwhelming share of bad loans, with NPLs reaching 943 VBN, while specialized banks contributed 21 BN and development finance institutions another Rs 16 BN. Although the overall infection ratio improved to 6.1% from 6.6 PC because of higher lending growth, the total stock of bad loans still increased from 947.8 BN in September to 964 BN in December.
Abuja, Nigeria, the killing of Abu Bilal al-Manuki, the second in command of ISIL, by United States and Nigerian forces marks a notable achievement for counter-terrorism. Yet for analysts observing the Lake Chad Basin, it highlights how persistent and complex insecurity in the region has become. Al-Manuki, a Nigerian national from Borno State, that was operating out of a compound near Lake Chad at the centre of one of the world's most active armed group theatres. The line is crackly, but the voice of Merab Abdolazadeh is clear and, given the circumstances, surprisingly steady. He's on death row in western Iran. He speaks quickly, as if time is running out, and his message is desperate.